Hi, hello. So I'm just gonna throw some words out real quick. This isn't like scripted or anything. I'm not a wizard genie. I'll try to edit in things to help my points, but I'm not. I don't do this. This doesn't exist. But I wanted to talk about Rise a little bit, and my main kind of issue with how it is. Disclaimer, asterisk. Love the game. Good game. Cute ass game. Very, very cute game. And also at the same time, I have more issues than just this for sure, but this is like the main one I was kind of thinking about today. And I wanted to see if anyone, probably isn't going to be shown to anyone, but I wanted to see if other people kind of agree with this sentiment. But this whole thought process I'm having here kind of started with the whole removal of hot and cold drinks, right? Because hot and cold drinks, they're stupid. They were dumb. They were basically a very minor, like, oh, you're going to this land, every like 5 minutes drink this thing or you suck balls. Very lame, but, asterisk, comma, whatever the fuck, the idea of this area requires some specific thing to keep in mind, or this area has X and Y gimmick that makes it different from other areas in terms of, what can happen there. That's good. And in that aspect, the hot and cold drink thing, they were a terrible version of it, and them being removed overall I think is a positive thing. But there was no replacement, really. There wasn't anything slotted into there that was better or even on par. Such as, what's a good example? In World, you got Effluvium in the Rotten Vale, right? You go to the Rotten Vale, and this is a thing that doesn't exist anywhere else, and it can, asterisk again, have an impact on what you do there. Personally, I think Effluvium was too weak, but it was a thing where if you're going to Rotten Vale, you're like, okay, do I care about getting Effluvium resist, especially for stuff like Valhazak. I think Black Veil was kind of the peak of that, where he sucked kind of pretty huge balls if you didn't have it on, which I think in the grand scheme of things is a good thing, because it made his fight more than just, hey, I'm Valhazak, but I deal more damage, and I have like 1 or 2 new moves. He was like a walking disease cloud as well, and it's like, okay, if you're gonna fight me, you need to prepare, and I think that should kind of be a thing with Elder Dragons. I think that's what should kind of separate Elder Dragons, or I think that's kind of what tends to separate Elder Dragons from normal monsters, is that, hey, I have a gimmick, and this gimmick can be lessened or countered in some way by good preparation or fight knowledge or whatever, paying attention, doing this thing, putting on X skill. I think the two extremes of this would be, actually this is kind of funny, so you got World Kushala, where windproof wouldn't fully nullify all the wind, and on top of that, poison, which normally would either, I didn't play too much of the old games, but it would either reduce the effect of the wind, or it would nullify it while they were poisoned, that kind of thing. Poison didn't seem to, or it had a very negligible effect on World Kushala. And then on the contrary, you got Rise Kushala, right, where you have very accessible windproof just by running Chameleos armor. Chameleos armor, just entire negation, and that's right before Kushala, so it's basically handed to you, which in that context makes sense. Chameleos, Kushala, Teostra, they're like a triangle of like countering each other. Whatever. You got that, and you have poison completely nullifying it, and you have the gimmick of the whole wind being neutered really hard to where even if you don't have those skills, Kushala never seems to intentionally take advantage of the fact that you were blown by the wind. Kushala always seems to wait, and at worst, you have a little bit less window to react to the next attack, but Kushala seems to very intentionally give you the time to get out of it. You're never very punished for getting hit by it, which overall, you know, makes the fight less annoying, but due to like the complete overcompensation of like, oh, people thought World Kushala was annoying. World Kushala was fucking annoying. But World Kushala was annoying because not only was it given a lot of like irritating moves, but the wind was just completely like you were going to have to deal with it in its fullest like all the time. But in Rise, they did so much to kind of counteract that the fight's just kind of, it's just a normal monster, but a little bit, you know, it's a bit harder in the challenge level, but there's nothing there that makes it like this is a big deal. The amount of Elder Dragon like characteristics that it has just been completely neutered to the point where it's just like it's a harder than average, pretty good fight with nothing really special going on. It's just, you know, cool. It's a cool fight, cool moves. The new shit they did was good, but the Elder Dragon aspects of Kushala just aren't there. They've been shut down so hard, probably due to, you know, Capcom being afraid of people thinking Kushala is shit again, because Kushala fucking sucked in World, but went completely overboard, I think. And kind of going back to the areas, I know this has kind of been all over the place, but I think it's all sort of the same idea. All the areas, the only two area-related gimmicks, I think, is in Sandy Plains you got like the anthill things, which monsters can ram into and then they become like one-time use pitfall traps. Those are cool. And then lava caverns, if you stand near the lava, you take damage over time. That's it, I think. Contrast that to World, right? In Ancient Forests, you had the vines, which could trap monsters. In Wildspire Waste, you had the swampy area, which hindered movement unless you had a skill, and stuff like the big sand pit, where you could shoot one of the birds, and if Diablos was there, he'd come out and fuck your shit up. Rotten Vale had the effluvium and the acid, which is basically just the lava caverns thing, but a bit more obtrusive. Elder's Recess had the heat and the like crystal things, which if a monster hit them, it would like spray them everywhere. And Nergigante's kind of nest area had a lot of them, which made fighting him there a lot more of a pain in the ass. And then Hoarfrost is just like fucking nuts. You got like the avalanche spot, you got the part where you're kind of on the ice cliff where the cliff can like completely fall off in a couple places. You got that part where it's like a layer of ice on top of water, and if a monster doesn't attack on it, it like splashes water waves, which can trip you. Hoarfrost was fucking insane. But compared to Rise, there's fucking nothing in Rise. Like, a lot of areas outside of aesthetics, they don't impact the gameplay at all. And this even includes stuff along the lines of unique monster kind of behavior with stuff like, you know, in Coral Highlands, which I forgot to mention when I was talking about areas, but also has like the water drinky beds, which monsters can get stuck in. It's got the air jets, which, you know, if you have glider mantle, you can benefit from that. And it's got, I guess, mostly level design related quirks, but, you know, you have places like the very tip top, which only some monsters go up to. Very few monsters even go over to... Fuck, where was that? There's like this part where it's like a really sheer cliff with a bunch of vines that you climb up. Not a whole lot goes over there. You got stuff like Velkhana's nest in Hoarfrost. You got stuff like Nergigante's nest in Elders, where not that many things go up there because they belong to a specific monster. There's not a whole lot of unique monster characteristics built into the level either. And kind of going off topic again, there's not that much unique monster characteristics in terms of movement or behavior at all either. Stuff like Basil, who used to feel like he was intentionally going out looking to fuck your shit up, he just behaves exactly the same as every other monster now. And it's like, where you go? Where all the cool stuff go? And I think that's a pretty big shame. There's nothing like to consider about the area you're going. Even if in world you tended to just like, I don't fucking care, I'm just gonna deal with it. It was still a factor. There was still an element of, oh, this sucks, but I could have prepared better. There was something to think about, even if you didn't end up doing much about it. And I think that's an aspect in terms of like terrain hazards, in terms of actual map shenanigans, and in terms of monsters. They don't seem to want to commit to anything that could be perceived as annoying, really. Like, yeah, the swamp was annoying, like the swamp in Wildspire, because, slowed movement's cringe, but the whole point was like, if you don't want to deal with the swamp, slot on the skill. If you don't want to deal with effluvium, slot on the skill. And there were some where you couldn't do something like that. Generally the more minor things, like the crystal shard things in Elder's Recess, but they were things where it's like, you go to this area, these are the unique, like, things that you have to account for, that you have to deal with in some fashion. And even back to, older games like Heaven's Mount from 4U, goddamn, that one spot, from what I understand, people fucking hate this part, but there's that one area where, depending on what's going on, it will, like, tilt completely. That shit's fucking awesome, conceptually. I'm not saying it's particularly fun to deal with, but it's like, where did those go? Like, in every aspect, like, there's not really a monster. Even, like, Chameleos, where his whole thing was, like, I'm gonna steal your shit. They won't even commit to that halfway. They, like, completely bailed out on that. If I was gonna do it, right, this is just me, subjectivity town, but I would have made it so you could get your stuff back. He would steal your stuff, and then either, something like, oh, you got a big knockdown on him and he dropped it, you got it back. Or when you kill him, you, like, carve it back. You, like, carve it out. I think that would be kind of cute, where it's like, okay, this is my shit, taking that back because he ate it. And if they wanted to go the full mile, they did stuff with the pollen where he gets little buffs, but personally, I don't really notice what they do. Like, I know they do stuff, but you could have done something so fun with, like, he has different effects based on items he steals. So, like, you could even have funny shit where, like, if he steals a bomb, he just, like, blows himself up. That'd be awesome. That'd be so cute. And you could, in that scenario, build your inventory around, okay, I want him to steal maybe these things, because that'll screw him up. That would be cool, I think. But there's so little commitment to, like, wanting things that could be viewed as inconveniences, I guess, and I think it results in the gameplay feeling a lot more, I guess, generic than it was. And, I say that with a heavy heart, because I love Rise. In terms of the actual, how, like, playing the weapons for the most part, moment to moment, I think it's my favorite game. Granted, I don't like the old games all too much, but they had a lot of cool ideas. But in terms of the things that make it special, like the things that make the areas super unique beyond aesthetics or layout, it's like, when I go to an area in Rise, it's like, it doesn't matter what it is, it's just an aesthetic. It's just like a route I have to memorize. It's not like, okay, I'm going here, these things are gonna be here that might complicate things, or, there's nothing like that, and I think that's a huge shame. I don't know if people generally, fucking owl! I don't know if people generally agree with me on this, but I wanted to kind of get it out there. If people see this, let me know what you think in the comment section. Bye-bye.